Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Coming in still. Maybe not. Hold on. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. This is another episode of Coffee and Contemplation. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps not. Either way, I'm your host, Old Heart. I'm sitting down here with, well, a cup of coffee. You guessed it. And I'm trying to wake up my mind. Every day is a good day to learn something you didn't know the day before, or at least progress your learning in some way. We like to call it here at Old Heart Radio, ripening up your coconut. So let's take a moment. Let's take about 14 moments and spend some time ripening up our coconuts today. Yeah, that's right. So today we take it in. You know, we drink it in. We breathe deep. We let that air just seep into our lungs.
Amazonia!
Ooh, that's right. In case you haven't heard, the Amazon is on fire. I don't think that's the literal translation of that, but it is very true. It's been on fire for a while. Everybody's harping at like 3 to 4 weeks. You know, nobody's noticed. Nobody's been talking about it for 3 to 4 weeks. It's been just burning. Well, yeah. Mainly nobody's been talking about it.
Amazonia!
The news cycle is absolutely fucking crazy. Nobody... I don't know. It doesn't surprise me that nobody's been fucking paying attention to it. But also, the same people that say nobody's been paying attention to it are those people that like constantly live in bubbles. So, which we all do. I guess that can be said for just about everybody. Your life is a fucking bubble. Step outside it. Either way, we're not talking about bubbles. We're talking about the Amazon because it's fucking important. If you don't know what the Amazon rainforest is, I don't know if this podcast can help you. You got to ripen up your coconut in a very different way. But just like do yourself a favor. Go to Google, you know, that search engine that we all use, and type in just like Amazon on fire, right? And you will see a litany of articles, a litany of links pop up to various articles about the Amazon rainforest fucking burning down. You know, one of the most important things about the Amazon rainforest is that it's referred to as like the lungs of the world, okay? Without the Amazon rainforest, I feel like just life in general would be different, drastically different, because it is the largest, I believe, sinkhole of carbon in the world. All the plants and the vegetation and everything about that rainforest pulls down carbon out of the air and then like, you know, digests it in a way. It's called it's more complicated, and definitely not, I wouldn't refer to it as digestion in like a very serious way, but it pulls that carbon down and then shits out excuse me, a lot of healthy oxygen for us. Right now, the live studio audience, right now there is a major problem with it being on fire. Okay, those lungs I hate the live studio audience. The lungs are on fire. Okay, and they're definitely not pulling all that carbon down. They're putting a ton of smoke and smog and pollution and carbon up into the atmosphere. But I just wanted to touch base. I found a pretty like informative breakdown. I know we only have like 14 minutes on this program, but so I found a pretty decent like New York Times article. I will post the link. I promise. I promise I'll post that link. About it, and it kind of so like how widespread are the fires in the Amazon, you might ask. So it's been detected that there's been 39,601 fires this year in the Amazon. which happens to be, again, the largest rainforest. About 60% of those of the Amazon is in Brazil. There are also blazes in Brazil outside of the Amazon, and that's a number we see floating around a lot. The total number of fires outside of the Amazon in Brazil is closer to 75,000 this year. But the actual number of fires detected in the Amazon has been 39,601. Nothing to snuff your nose at. I'm not saying it's not a decent stack of fires, but either way, I'm just saying these are pretty hefty numbers either fucking way. That's the obvious indicator. So what is causing these fires? So natural fires, according to this New York Times article, it states that natural fires in the Amazon are rare, and the majority of these fires were set by farmers preparing Amazon-adjacent farmland for next year's crops and pasture. And that has been something that's been happening under the current president of Brazil. That's been happening a lot more frequently. In recent years, it had kind of slowed down a little bit. It hadn't. It's not like this is a new thing that's happening. Shit. Shoutouts to Evil L. Shoutouts to Castle Roll. Shoutouts to Harrison Hannon. Shoutouts to Monkflower Band. Shoutouts to Yellow Teeth. Shoutouts to the South Miller Street Toe Tappers. Shoutouts to Mooner 6. Shoutouts to Bugatron. Shoutouts to anybody listening out there. If you're listening, throw something my way. You want to hear something? You want to even be on the show sometime? Send us an email, oldheartradio@gmail.com. That's probably the best way of getting in contact with anybody at Old Heart. Also, shout-outs to my Old Heart co-host, Casserole Lucas. He's got a show developing. He's been running regular on the matinee edition with me. It's been pretty sweet. We're on almost episode 15 or something with that. Shit's stacking up. And again, just shout out to anybody listening. Y'all are fucking awesome. But back to the most important thing of the podcast, which isn't you, dear listener. And it isn't even me, all right? And that's shocking to me. But anyway, back to the podcast. So, a lot of the land that is being burned in the Brazilian part of the Amazon is due to farmers, okay? Farmers, humans. Not robots. Not that I suspected robots were burning the Amazon. That would be crazy. So they're preparing a lot of times it's preparing Amazon adjacent farmland for new crops, new pastures. A lot of times there's also cattle ranching or whatever that's happening that ends up destroying some of that shit. Deforestation more broadly is the cause for concern than, say, climate change at this point. Climate change, it definitely hasn't helped anything, but it has recently the rainforest has been drier, so that is a very realistic thing. But last year the world lost 12 million hectares of tree cover, including 3.6 million hectares of primary rainforest, according to data from the University of Maryland. The destruction of the Amazon rainforest in Brazil has increased rapidly since the nation's newest president took over. And like I said earlier, he took over, but actually what he's been doing is he's kind of scaled back a lot of the a lot of efforts to fight logging, ranching, and mining, particularly impacting the Amazon. So there has been a 79% increase in fires in the same period from this same period in time last year. So that's kind of the line. We look at the information from last year and we say wow, there's been a 79% increase in the destruction of the Amazon rainforest. That is not all right. We should really be kind of trying to crunch that number down to nothing, because there are so many species there. There's so much history buried deep in there. There's so much just life. I don't even care if you think the progress for progress sake, or whatever. You're fucking wrong. What's happening is that we're destroying one of the most impactful ecosystems in the fucking world. And if we do that, it's I imagine it's what they say losing bees would be like. just life will never be the same. Once it's gone, it's fucking gone, and we have to try and figure out how to live after that. Anyway, I want to talk about Mr. Jair Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro is the current president of Brazil. Let's see, last year he ran kind of on this idea of like, you know, he declared last year he declared that Brazil's vast protected lands were an obstacle, and as following through with that, he's been scaling back the protection of it. Brazil's part of the Amazon lost more than 1,330 square miles of forest cover in the first half of 2019, a 39% increase over that same time period in 2018. And that's all according to government deforestation tracking. The Amazon is often referred to as the Earth's lungs because its vast forests release oxygen and store carbon dioxide, like I was saying earlier, a heat-trapping gas that is obviously a major cause of global warming. So, if enough rainforest is lost and can't be restored, the area will become savanna, which doesn't store as much carbon and would mean a reduction in the planet's, quote, lung capacity. I hope that makes sense, because it just does. It's like, it's like smoking. Smoking destroys your lungs, and after a while, you don't have the same lung capacity. Derp. Did climate change cause these fires? And that's kind of one of those things, like people want to really harp on that. It was not necessarily caused by climate change. Climate change definitely probably played a little bit of a role, like I said, in maybe like the hydration level of the rainforest. But it says, according to this article and according to a lot of quotes across the board and a lot of findings across the board, a lot of this is mostly due to human activity. I'm just going to say that. Just throw it there. So it's been one of those things, and like at the very beginning I was kind of making fun of it, but this has been going on for several weeks. There's been a ton of extra fire. That it's extra bad. Pride of Gypsies, Jason Momoa just posted a thing earlier today, and it was very helpful actually. It's saying like things you can do. As an emergency response, his post said, donate to Frontline Amazon. Consider becoming a regular supporter of the Rainforest Alliance. Stay on top of this. Post. Be a conscious consumer. Let people know. And most importantly, when election time comes, vote for leaders who understand the urgency of climate crisis and are willing to take bold action. I think that is important, and I wanted to shout him out. Thanks, Jason Momoa, for posting that. You are actually an incredible influence for, just climate activism, for fighting for our planet. And it's important, man. It is. We all need to do more, including myself. But I'm going to leave you on this note. We can always try harder. So go out there and use your brain for good. Ripen up that coconut as best you can. And as always, keep your stick on the ice.
Queimada na Amazônia!